Hi, welcome to this Blender video tutorial entitled Global and Local Orientation. As we have seen from previous video tutorials, Blender defines 3D space as encompassing an area which borders along an X, Y, and Z axis. By default, the orientation of the X, Y, and Z axis is a global orientation. That is, the orientation of the X, Y, and Z axes remain constant no matter which view is displayed or which object is selected. However, Blender allows users to change the X, Y, and Z axis orientation from the default global orientation to the object's local orientation. To demonstrate this, I have placed a cube object and a torus object in my Blender scene. In global orientation, the Z-axis, which is designated with a blue color, always runs up and down. The Y-axis, which is designated with a green color, always runs towards and away from the front. The X-axis, which is designated with a red color, always runs horizontal to the front. I will switch to front view, numpad 1. Here I will press my R key and rotate the torus object about 45 degrees around the Y-axis. I can easily move this rotated sphere along the global X-axis or the global Z-axis. However, I can also change the orientation from global to local by clicking on this orientation drop-down box. Here I will change the axis orientation from global to local. Notice that the X, Y, and Z orientation has now changed to reflect the attitude of the selected torus object. Now I can move the torus along its local Z axis or along its local X axis. I'll select the cube object. Note that I am still in local orientation. However, since I have never rotated the cube object, the local orientation is the same as the global orientation. Here I will rotate the cube slightly around the Y-axis. Notice how the Translate Manipulator widget reflects the new local axis. I will select the torus object. I will switch from the Translate Manipulator widget to the Scale Manipulator widget. Here I can scale the torus along its local Z-axis, and I can scale the torus along its local X-axis. I will switch from the Scale Manipulator widget to the Rotate Manipulator widget. Here I can rotate the torus around its local Z-axis, and I can rotate the torus around its local X-axis. Notice that since I had rotated the torus object initially around its Z-axis and then subsequently rotated it around its local X-axis, I now in front view can see all three local axes: the local blue Z-axis, the local red X-axis, and the local green Y-axis. I will switch back to the Translate Manipulator widget. I will also rotate my view to a more dimensional user view and select the cube object. Switching to local orientation makes it quite easy to move, rotate, or scale objects along their local axis. Here, with the cube object selected, I'll press Shift-D and make a duplicate cube object. Notice that since I am in local orientation, I can move the new duplicate cube along the same local axis.